Did we actually hear the pilots say that? They just lifted their geofencing restrictions on their drones. They will now be able to fly over our military bases. They will now be able to fly over the White House.
The idea that you have to ask somebody to do this is nuts.
And now...
But the Chinese are lifting their own restrictions and our government's not doing anything?
Bingo. Now remember, Sean,
I can't believe I'm laughing. I cannot, this is insane.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has a really cool drone update, a little more information on that, and her brand new role on DOGE for oversight. She weighs in on the California fires, the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which is awesome. You guys know that she's one of my favorites. We're going to watch these clips together on a recent interview. They will get you updated on everything. She's happier than she's ever been. And so are we. This is where the Happy Patriots hang out. So thanks for hanging with me for just a second. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment below. Let us know that you exist. How am I going to know you're there if you don't leave a message for me? Down in the comments below. Thanks. Let's watch.
I was flying into Washington from West Palm Beach yesterday afternoon, and we're approaching into Washington, D.C., making our way to land at DCA, and the pilot comes on and he says that he's having to reroute and come in and land from another direction due to unauthorized drones over the White House. I mean, you talk about shocked. Everybody was looking around like, what? Did we actually hear the pilot say that? I immediately sent a message to Homeland. We've got to have a hearing on this. We need to investigate this. We need answers immediately. But I want to take this to another level because the news came out today, Sean, and I'm sure you saw it. The Chinese drone company DJI, which really dominates the marketplace, the majority of the marketplace with drones, they just lifted their geofencing restrictions on their drones, meaning that their drones will they will now be able to fly over our military bases. They will now be able to fly over the White House. And this is all because of the Chinese company DJI has lifted that geofencing.
So geofencing, that's just a normal technology within drones, but especially we use it on our southern border. Palmer Luckey, who created the Oculus glasses and sold it to Meta for billions of dollars. He's a big Trump supporter. He's also a buddy of mine over on Twitter because he came out of a big video game fan. But he talks about geofencing. He's the one that proposed that we police the southern border with geofencing, and he ended up landing a contract on that because he's very good. But geofencing now, China's talking about removing that barrier. So geofencing is basically, just think of it as a geode or a bunch of inside the computer chip mind, an invisible fence that drone is not allowed to cross. And so there's geofencing within the technology, say keep away from our military bases, keep away from the White House. And then if it does cross that geofence, it will lose power and start to go down, or you'll lose control, or at least alert someone. And China's removing that technology. Bad.
This is a direct threat to our national security by China, because we know companies in China are owned by the Chinese government. And I'm calling for swift action with our incoming administration. We should ban these drones. We should not allow them to be flown in our airspace. They should not be sold in the United States of America. This is reckless and dangerous, and it's an endangerment to our national security.
Yeah. Okay. I just, the idea that you have to ask somebody to do this is nuts. It's like, this is protecting the people 101. But just walk me back through this, because when you say they undid it, so the company, this Chinese company previously, had like embedded technology that didn't allow the drone. So if you bought one, you couldn't fly it over a military base in the White House, but now you can?
That's right. And so before, it had technology that was geofencing.
Right.
So these drones could not fly over secure locations.
So this is China jacking with us again. It's no different than what they were doing with TikTok. These are all threats where they're testing us to see how soft we are. Remember, TikTok is a social media app. It plays videos just like we are right here on YouTube, but then it also runs spyware underneath. And people start to question, well, did TikTok exist for us to create entertaining videos, or does it exist to actually spy on us and send information and data back to China? I got to tell you guys something. Everything you use on the computer is to spy on you, whether if it's America or China. But at the very least, we don't want China doing it. So now they're drones. And look, we can do a recall and an ending of China drones too. Just like Trump banned, just like we are banning TikTok, it's iffy on if Trump's going to actually follow through. The Supreme Court said that you can do it because it's spyware. Well, if drones are spyware also, then guess what? You're going out of business.
Like military bases and like the White House. But the news came out today that DJI has now lifted their geofencing restrictions on their drones. And now
But the Chinese are lifting their own restrictions and our government's not doing anything?
Bingo. Now remember, Sean,
I can't believe I'm laughing. I cannot. This is insane.
Yeah, it is insane. But remember, we have to remind everyone at home that this is the Biden administration is in charge right now. So don't start blaming President Trump. This is the Biden administration, Democrats, full control. And this is what is happening in America. And they're leaving a national security disaster for us to clean up starting on the 20th. And we could probably go back and talk about these drones flying over New Jersey and other places in the country. Americans are terrified. And I think we need to be taking a hard look at China and definitely hold them accountable.
I love Spicer's ready to bolt in because it's so obvious this should have already been done by Biden. They did nothing about apparently they don't know what the drones are. Trump's already announced that he would tell us what the drones are. When he gets into office, he's going to reveal all that stuff to the American public. Much more transparent government.
It's very simple, and this is how it's going to be, Sean. This country is about to see and feel a complete change in leadership for the entire country, the United States of America. And that's going to happen on Monday, the 20th, when President Trump is inaugurated and his entire administration comes into play. So that's number one. That's the start. Number two, what we're going to do, and we just discussed this in our conference meeting this morning, and we've been discussing it in many of our meetings, is we're going to wait for a request from the state of California. And then Russ Vought, the new OMB director, will be in his job upcoming very soon. And we will work with the administration. Congress will work with the administration on the appropriations request for California. And if we have to set guidelines in place, basically putting rules on California, forcing them to be responsible for their citizens for any future fires, such as maintaining water reservoirs so fire hydrants are never empty.
So Trump is going to help in California, whether if he's invited or not. How? We're obviously going to be paying for, there's going to be some federal aid going in there to the richest state in the union. But they need it, right? They need some dough. But simple, they're going to, Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about tying it to making sure they keep their stuff filled. She's going to give a whole list of stuff that they're going to have to do before they get the money. That's Trump's influence on California. If he says you can't get the money until you do X or Y, that is, he's going to hold their hand and make them govern their own state so they don't spend it on DEI and they don't spend it on recycling. But if it's time to hire a fireman, you'll hire a fireman. If it's time to fill your reservoir, you'll fill your reservoir. It's time to buy new fire trucks and keep stations. You will do that with this federal money. When it comes to rebuilding, you'll spend it on how we want you to rebuild it. It's conditional money, and that's what California needs because they're an imbecilic toddler run by Gavin Newsom.
Such as clearing their forest floors so that there isn't just dry wood and debris laying around easily for any arsonist or any campfire to get out of control. We may have to do things like that until the good people of California can vote and change their leadership. And I really think they want to, Sean. I think the good people of California are realizing that voting because they like someone or voting for someone because it makes them feel charitable and like they're doing a good thing has really led their state to disaster. And we look forward to seeing people in California, because so many of them are so smart and good-hearted. We look forward to seeing them change the leadership in their state, and Congress will be here waiting their requests. And if we have to appropriate money for them, we want to do it responsibly.
That's a smart girl, responsibly, and there's more news from her because she has the ear of Donald Trump. But I like that technique of making California spend this money responsible, and she's going to support them. But she's also signing the bill to turn the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America.
You were the person that when the president said that he wanted to rename the Gulf of Mexico, you went like, got it. And you went and filed legislation right away to change it to the Gulf of America. Mm-hmm. I sort of started doing some research. I see your Twitter account, all these members are jumping on with you. Is this a legislative fix? How does this work? And how successful do you think you're going to be?
It's both. So President Trump can come in, he can write an executive order that the Gulf of Mexico is now renamed and should be called the Gulf of America. But it is a legislative fix because, let me tell you, we constantly in Congress rename post offices all the time. And you have seen ridiculous things like military bases being renamed, all these different things being renamed because Democrats are so offended by history. Well, we have to do it legislatively because we have to pay for maps to be changed.
We're paying for maps. We're taking the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to take Canada. And we're going to take Greenland, too. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has a brand new political authority to work with DOGE. This is on her Twitter, Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Statement on being named chair of GOP Oversight DOGE Subcommittee. So she's going to be the chair. Now, this is important because Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they can't do anything because they're not they didn't get their job through a vote. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene was voted upon. So it's important that they work close with members of Congress. So it's great that she's going to be the chair of an official subcommittee running DOGE. President Trump has elected with a mandate, and Republicans in Congress must rapidly work towards fulfilling that mandate. DOGE is a vital part of President Trump's mandate, and my brand new subcommittee will work hand in hand with President Trump, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and their entire team to create a government that actually works for the American people. Now, Elon and Vivek can just make threats, but Marjorie Taylor Greene actually has teeth in her position because she's an elected representative. She has more power on this. And finally, here's the final clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And that costs money, right? It's not a significant amount of money, but it's an important change. And so we feel like doing it through Congress and aligning with President Trump and what he wants of changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America is very much the best America first thing we can do. It's also important, Sean, because let's also realize that it's our country, it's Americans that pay for this, is we police the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It's our military that goes out and fights drug dealers coming from Mexico, human trafficking coming from Mexico, and also keeps the United States safe through the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. So the Gulf of Mexico doesn't deserve that name. It should be the Gulf of America because America is in charge of those waters.
Done. Sign it. Now you're all caught up on the great Marjorie Taylor Greene. People derided her as, I don't even know what names they called her. She is clearly good leadership. I like kind of how down home she sounds. Very much a Southern girl, but I'm very proud of her. I hope you guys liked getting this little catch up on her. If there's more news on Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know where to go. Right here on the Doug TenNapel channel. I'm Doug in exile. Watch another video coming right up.